Thanks again everyone for the support of the channel, and after recently releasing a playbook of how I would break into tech sales, I'm making a few complimentary videos to add some context to what I'm saying. So in this video, what I want to talk about is how sales compensation is structured. For a lot of people getting to know the SDR position, there's a lot of hesitation because if you're coming from a salary job or otherwise and going into sales, it's very different to have a job where you have a component or a lot of your salary based on commission, based on sales that you have to make. But it's actually not that complicated. And at the entry-level role in many different tech companies, we'll leave equity out of the equation here because candidly, if you're at a startup, it may or may not matter. That's a separate video in of itself. But when you're breaking into tech sales, a lot of times your salary as an SDR is going to be maybe anywhere from 60,000 to on the higher side like 100,000, 110,000. And this is usually broken up in base and commission. Now, if you're on that lower end of the range, usually let's say you're at like 60,000 OTE, you'd have a $40,000 base and 20,000 commission. And so what that means is you will get a check every 2 weeks, like you have a salary of $40,000 a year. And then as you're closing deals, depending on the company that you're at, most companies I've seen usually pay out monthly, although some pay quarterly based on attaining your targets. So what this means in terms of the day-to-day, what this means in terms of how you accomplish or even exceed that number is like as an SDR, a common metric for getting compensation or commission is setting meetings. So if you're an SDR, you're in your role, let's use $75,000 OTE or on target earnings, which means your base and your commission, if you hit 100% of your quota, will be $75,000 a year. So you'll start, as soon as you start your job, receiving a paycheck like you were getting $40,000 a year. And then on a monthly basis, let's say you were required to hit 15 meetings. So you take that second chunk, which is, again, if your commission is $35,000, you divide that up by the 12 months of the year, call it $2,000 per month. So if you set 15 meetings per month, you will get paid an additional $2,000 per month in your paycheck, usually paid at the end of the following month. And so you can also break that down further. Let's say your target is 15 meetings. Usually if you hit 10, you would get 2/3 of that $2,000. And so it rates, basically you can equate it to a dollar amount per meeting set is your commission component. So no matter what, you're always getting that base salary like you were a W-2 standard 9-to-5 employee. And then depending on how many meetings you set as an SDR or how many qualified opportunities, I've even seen some companies that actually have a commission structure where if the deal that you qualify actually ends up closing from an account executive, you also get a kickback. And also if you exceed your target, let's say you had to set 15 meetings a month, there have been cases where every meeting you set at 16, 17, and beyond, you would actually get some sort of accelerator and even more money than you would normally if it was a meeting 0 to 15. But I think it's important to know that especially if you're looking into tech sales for the first time, especially like in my case, I was an engineer making $80,000 a year. I quit my job, took some time off, and then I went into sales making $75,000 a year. It was definitely an adjustment living off of my base salary at first, which was $45,000. Even as an engineer, I lived very well below my means. So I was able to live off of my base salary very comfortably and even save some of my base salary. So then when my commission came in, I was able to save that and basically not even touch it, or maybe every once in a while buy a nice thing, nice dinner, new toy, whatever it might be. So hopefully that gives you an overview. I would say if you're watching this video because you are preparing to break into tech sales and you're maybe have an offer in hand or are getting further down the line with tech companies, I do want to mention I also have a video I'm going to link on how to negotiate salary if you want to ask for a little bit more than, say, you get an offer for 60 and you want to ask for 75. I've got a video that actually talks through how to do that as a whole. But if there's any advice I can give any of you, if you've been living below your means in maybe a different job where you're getting a steady check at or around that mark, and you transition to sales, the upside is 100% worth it if you commit to 1 to 2 to 3 years in. You'll drastically increase your income. But also, this is not an original quote from me, many people say this, but if you can get to a place where you can live off of your base salary and then save your commission or whatever it might be, that's a very great way to kind of compartmentalize and break in. And while maybe as you first get started, you're not that great at sales, you don't make quite as much, the long-term upside is so worth it if you stick with it, and it will make your life easier if you're already living great habits in terms of below your means and not coming into your sales job having to make that sale and kind of showing desperation because you're living and spreading your budget really thin. So anyway, I hope that helps. Appreciate everyone's time, and we will see you next week.